I wanted to show you this because now that we're away from the like Ukraine is not the thing anymore, people are focusing on January 6th committee or the gun control debate. Everything that Hasan and I said after the invasion itself is starting to slowly become admitted by the American mainstream media. All the shit that I said at the beginning, inflation, damaging of the economy. Remember that? And I said there's no way that the Europeans could actually sanction the most important industry for Russia. Well, it turns out that the sanctions are actually helping Russia because it spiked the price of oil. They're making more money than ever. Their economy's fine. The ruble is fine. It's actually in its strongest position it's been in years. Yeah, they can't sell Big Macs in a Big Mac wrapper, but they're winning. So we destroyed our economy. And Joe Biden said, this is incredible. Joe Biden said that Americans would be willing to pay more at the pump to stop Putin. How's that working out, Joe? How's that working out for you, Joe? I mean, he's at his all-time low in approval. 39. Is this below Trump? He's below Trump again. He's 2 points below Trump. Joe Biden is the most unpopular president. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, he's slightly better than Ford. Ford spikes back, but Ford wasn't elected. Ford wasn't elected. He took office. He wasn't even elected vice president. Nixon's vice president resigned because of criminal behavior. Gerald Ford was appointed to the vice president position to serve out the remainder of the term, and then Nixon resigned. Other than Gerald Ford, he's the most unpopular elected president in American history at this point in his term. I mean, he's tied with Carter. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he's well below Carter. Carter spiked back up. He's 4 points below Carter. I mean, he's below Trump. Why did Truman drop so low? Because he sucks. I tweeted something that I wanted you all to see because it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, and we are sanctioning them because they had the audacity to want to use their oil revenues for their own people's benefit. So we were paying $5 to $7 for a gallon of gas and begging the country that did 9/11 for more oil. Now, you might be wondering, like, Mike, you say it's an international oil market. Why can't Venezuela just sell their oil to some other countries? Well, guess what? They weren't allowed to. America threatened that any company that did business with Venezuela couldn't do business with the United States. That also means our banking system. Who's going to do that? No one. No major international business is going to do fucking business with Venezuela if that means you lose the U.S. Also, Venezuela has what's known as sour crude. It's a type of unconventional oil that's harder to process. It's sour because it literally smells sour. Okay? That's why it's called sour crude. America is the only place that has invested heavily in what's known as a deep conversion refining plant, which is another words of saying America in the Gulf, we're the only people that have the technology constructed to actually refine Venezuelan oil so it can be used. So Venezuela is double fucked. The oil they have is difficult to process. Does that mean somebody else couldn't? No, they could. They would just have to build multi-billion-dollar refineries. Who's going to make that investment? Because the moment the U.S. lifts sanctions, now Venezuela's oil is going to flow to the U.S. So that's not a good bet. Secondly, what I just said before, you can't ask the U.S. financial system. You can't access the U.S. market if you're a company that does business with Venezuela. No one's going to make that deal. So the United States of America has utterly destroyed Venezuela's economy. Because why? They nationalized their oil. They wanted to use their own oil for their own people's benefit. You know what a country that does that? Norway. Norway's okay because they're white. Venezuela can't do it because they're brown. Brown people trying to sell their own resources for their own benefit? Nah, nah, nah. CIA, get in there. And we've been proven. It's been proven that the United States and the CIA did multiple coup attempts of this government.
LETSGO.
Thank you, Hogwatch79. But yeah, so why are we still sanctioning Venezuela? Joe Biden is going to destroy his own political career and the U.S. economy and your first personal fucking finances with inflation so that our capitalists can try to steal Venezuelan oil. Does that make sense? And we're going to go beg the fucking war criminal genociders of Saudi Arabia who are doing a genocide, aggressive war in Yemen right now. We're going to trade with them. Explain that, liberal. Explain it. No one can explain this. This is indefensible. No one can. Yet it's to what's happening. Fucking explain it. Explain it. And the Saudis have nationalized oil too? Exactly. So instead, we're sanctioning Russia. We're sanctioning Venezuela. We're destroying our own economy. We're discrediting, liberals are discrediting themselves. And the beneficiary is not the left. It's the far right. Jumpin' Crack and Bass. Thank you for the gifted sub to Mikey Bear. Continue the gift sub you got from Mikey Bear.
Toph Wiggle DSA Wiggle.
5 blunt truths about the war in Ukraine.
Furthermore, there's
5 sentences sum up the war in Ukraine as it stands now. The Russians are running out of precision-guided weapons. The Ukrainians are running out of Soviet-era munitions. The world is running out of patience for the war. The Biden administration is running out of ideas for how to wage it. And the Chinese are watching. Moscow's shortfalls with its arsenal, which have been obvious on the battlefield for weeks, are the cause of long-term relief and short-term horror. Relief because the Russian war machine, on whose modernization Vladimir Putin spent heavily, he really didn't, has been exposed as a paper tiger that could not seriously challenge NATO in a conventional conflict. Everybody knew this already. That wasn't a shill for the military-industrial complex. Or because an army that cannot wage a high-tech war relatively low on collateral damage will wage a low-tech war, appallingly high on such damage. Ukraine, by its own estimates, is suffering 20,000 casualties a month. 20,000 casualties a month. So that we could try to destabilize Russia and we could steal Ukraine's resources. We're killing 20,000 or wounding 20,000 people a month. By contrast, the U.S. suffered 36,000 casualties in Iraq over 7 years of war. We also killed 1 million Iraqis. For all its bravery and resolve, Kiev can hold off, but not defeat a neighbor more than 3 times its size in a war of attrition. That means Ukraine needs to do more than slow down the Russian army. It needs to break its spine. It can't happen. This is impossible. This is impossible. This is an impossibility. At best, the Ukrainian army can slow down and inflict damage on the Russians. They can raise the price of the Russian invasion so that it becomes unpopular. They can't break the spine of the Russian army. It's like saying the Vietnamese need to break the spine of the American army. Impossible! All they could do is raise the price of the war and inflict damage until that party decides it's not worth the price. But what can happen in an artillery war with Russia could fire some 60,000 shells per day against some roughly 5,000 the Ukrainians have said they can get off. Quantity, as the saying goes, has a quality all its own. The Biden administration provided Ukraine with advanced howitzers, rocket launchers, and munitions, but they aren't arriving fast enough. Also, they don't know how to use them. Now is the moment for Joe Biden to tell his national security team what Richard Nixon told his when Israel was reeling from its losses in the Yom Kippur War. After asking what weapons Jerusalem was asking for, the 37th president ordered his staff to double it. Jesus Christ, these Zionist idiots. The urgency of winning soon, or at least putting Russian forces into retreat across a broad front. By the way, Nixon was a massive anti-Semite, so he wasn't doing this because he believed in Jewish fucking self-determination or some other liberal cope. He was saying that to fight the Cold War and stop Arab nationalism. The urgency of winning soon, or at least putting Russian forces in retreat across a broad front. That's not happening. This is fucking... Okay, he said 5 blunt truths and then just started saying incredibly insane bullshit. That Moscow, not Kiev, sues for peace is compounded by the fact that time isn't necessarily on the West side. Sanctions on Russia may do long-term damage to its capacity to grow. Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's look at that. The Russian ruble is at the highest price it's been in 5 fucking years. Here's where the sanctions hit. Now it's higher than it's been for 5 fucking years. Oops. You have to go back to March of 2018 for a similar price. Oops. But sanctions can only do so much in the short term to dent Russia's capacity to destroy. Those same sanctions also exact a toll on the rest of the world, and the toll of the world is prepared to pay for solidarity with Ukraine isn't unlimited. Critical shortages of food, energy, and fertilizer, along with supply disruptions and price increases, can't be sustained forever in democratic societies with limited tolerance for pain. In other words, Joe Biden's going to lose to Donald fucking Trump or Ron DeSantis, and the Democrats are going to lose the House and the goddamn Senate with inflation at 9% a goddamn month, idiot. Putin appears to be paying no price, whether in energy revenues, which are up thanks to price increases, or in public support, also thanks to some combination of nationalism, propaganda, and fear for his war. In other words, hey, remember? I remember that. It's called the Iraq War. Bush's approval went up. How's Bitcoin doing? Did they recover today? It's down another 6%. It's down 28% in the last 5 days. 33% in the last month. It was at 60,000 a coin 6 months ago. I'm sorry, 50,000. No, it was at 60,000. It got up to 67,000. Wasn't there an intraday where it got to 69,000? Isn't the all-time of Bitcoin's like all-time Bitcoin price? Bitcoin high. I think it was 69,000, right? Reached an all-time high of over 68,000. So it was 68,000. 68,990 and 90 cents. Didn't even pay 69,000. So close. So close. Didn't even get 69,420. Damn, dude. Hoping he might die soon of whatever disease might be ailing him isn't a strategy. This is the weirdest cope, is people thinking Putin has some sort of disease. Yes, measure the price of Bitcoin from its all-time high. I mean, like, it's going... Most of the time, Bitcoin ends up down from those all-time highs when a lot of people get excited. It's heading... I mean, it was $20,000... It was $19,650 in 2017. If you bought Bitcoin in December of 2017, you've made no money. Congratulations on 5 years of no growth. What a paradigm shift. We just let Putin take shit like this then? No, I would have not escalated the thing into a war, Phoenix. I would have, I'll give you an example, given guarantees that Ukraine would not join NATO, it would be a neutral country. Enforce the Minsk agreements, including regional autonomy for the people that were in the breakaway republics. Accept Russia's annexation of Crimea after an internationally refereed referendum or something in exchange for compensation to Ukraine. How about doing some peace shit? Make Ukraine into an Austria or Finnish style country. But no, we did to Ukraine what we did to Georgia. What if Russia still invaded after all of that? Why would they? Why would they? They're going to invade in the face of the international communities. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. What if Russia just nuked the world? Is this a sign? U.S. housing market entered into slowdown mode. Gone from a housing boom into a full-blown housing correction. You'll see a year-over-year rate of home price growth from a record of 20.6% to 0%. Moody's Analytics expects a 5% nationwide house price drop, including 15 to 20% in America's most overvalued regional housing markets. Damn, that would be good. Damn, that would be based. What's more, the Biden administration it needs to take 2 calculated risks. The U.S. should be prepared to challenge the Russian maritime blockade of Odessa by escorting cargo ships. What? This is fucking insane! The That first will be getting Turkey to allow NATO warships to transit the Turkish Straits. Yeah, they're not doing that. What? This is insane. Russia has no legal right to blockade Ukraine's last major port. Turkey has no right to invade fucking Cyprus. And yet you've made peace with it. The U.S. had no legal right to invade Iraq. Yet you're not saying we should sanction Bush. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, let's have a naval standoff between nuclear powers. Good fucking plan, idiot. The U.S. should seize the estimated $300 billion in Russian central bank assets held abroad. They're not in the U.S., you idiot! What, are we going to go into other countries and take their money? I first proposed this in early April when Harvard's Lawrence Tribe and Jeremy Lewin laid out a convincing legal case several days later in a Times guest essay. The administration has cold feet on grounds that it could violate U.S. law and set a bad financial precedent. Oh, that's just U.S. law. We can ignore that. Incredible. 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 I'm sorry for yelling so much, but they're trying to kill us all. They're literally trying to kill us all by putting us into a war with Russia, which would be good arguments in less dire circumstances. Right now, what's urgently needed is the kind of financial wall up to Russia that other sanctions have failed to inflict. And guess what they do? They stop selling oil to fucking Europe. And suddenly, Europe goes into a fucking complete and utter depression, causing a worldwide financial collapse. You fucking dumbass! Or Russia decides to fire a tactical nuke after U.S. ships are warned off and violate the blockade. Now what, dummy? You are the dumbest motherfucker. Why do you think that the Russia would not escalate? Why is your escalation totally normal, but Russia is supposed to be rational and not do an escalation? Incredible dummy! The fight in Ukraine will have a greater effect in Asia than it will in Europe. The administration may reassure itself that it's sufficiently bloody the Russian military, but it soon won't be invading anyone else. But if the war ends with Putin comfortably in power and Russia in possession of a fifth of Ukraine, then Beijing will draw the lesson that aggression works. And if we have to fight a war over Taiwan, with its overwhelming human and economic toll much sooner than we think, if China took over Taiwan, I don't care. And, okay, and then what? And the war in Ukraine is either a prelude or a finale. Oh my God, I thought that they were going to say, I can't believe this is, this is Brett Stevens, of course, wrote this. I thought he was going to say something interesting. He said something completely batshit crazy. Brett, for once, you and I are on the same page. Biden administration needs to remove restrictions on Ukraine. There's no restrictions. They don't have the capability to attack into Russia. Imagine if during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. talked about sending warships against the Soviets to protect a deeply corrupt, quasi-democratic nation with whom we have no alliance, political, social, or cultural ties, or any direct security interests. Sounds like crazy war talk Ronnie Reagan would do just to pick a fight with the evil empire. This is exactly what Stevens is suggesting, and New York Times readers are applauding it. But wait, isn't there a difference between the fearsome Soviet Union and today's paper tiger Russia? Yes, Putin is an unstable authoritarian surrounded by yes men, not a Soviet politician hemmed in by either the Politburo or competent generals. He considers Ukraine the cultural spirit heart of Russia, not another pawn on the chessboard. We have no more back-channel red phone to the Kremlin, and Russia is just as nuclear armed as the Soviet Union ever was. Any suggestion of prudence sets one up for charges of being pro-Putin or even pro-Trump. And isn't that really at the core of the Democrats being more interested in fighting for Europe than even Europeans are? Give this person a fucking a column right now. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Are people fucking insane? I gotta leave this country. This country is insane. I'm sorry. This country is fucking insane. I almost want it to happen. So that Americans can't get their treaty treats for 3 fucking weeks. When you go to Walmart and the shelves are fucking completely empty and gas is $20 a goddamn gallon, maybe Americans will wake the fuck up that we're not God. My God, this is insane. And then what is America going to do? In its petulance, it's going to nuke the fucking planet. When we're finally defeated and the reality of how the world really is fully in front of Americans, the boomers, with their last death rattle from their fucking convalescent homes, are going to push the nuclear button. Because if they're going to die, the rest of you have to die too. It's not fair that the world will go on without the goddamn baby boomers. They have to kill everybody because they're going to die. Jesus Christ! Accept mortality! Die! I'm sorry for reading comments on the New York Times, but I'm losing my mind. Another person commenting that's smarter than the columnist. Thanks for your nothing burger, Brett. It's clear to the average Joe we need to ship much more artillery to Ukraine. Perhaps we need to ship rockets that can reach Russia as well. Until Russia feels the pain, they have no incentive to stop. Financially cutting off Russia will collapse their economy in a month, but Europe doesn't want to sacrifice. We're going to be in fascism in 5 fucking minutes. My God. Okay, I got to look at the top comments. If we won't stand up to Putin because he routinely issues warnings about consequences, what message does that send to Russia, to China, to Iran, to North Korea? Hard choices to be sure, but not every dictator can be deterred with sanctions or diplomacy. We're being tested to see if we have the stomach for a fight. It's that simple and that terrible. Every single one of these countries is not an aggressor. North Korea sits in North Korea. Iran sits there in Iran. China sits there in China, trading with the world and developing their own country. What are you talking about? Ukraine must decisively win. Literal impossibility. Russia isn't going to start World War III over Ukraine and will eventually slink back into their hole if we get tough. So one of the things about people is they seem to think that other people don't have the ability to resist their will. The United States, American citizens are fucking batshit crazy. Todd, you should be in prison. No shit. These are the top recommended comments are batshit crazy. Russia is in a very precarious position. Its gains Pyrrhic, and it's likely to lose. It's likely to lose in the months ahead. I'm going to tell you right now, the Ukrainians are losing many more troops than Russia, and they're firing off they've actually already used up all of America's stockpile of shoulder-mounted missiles. America's stockpile. The arms don't exist to keep up this operational pace. Ukraine is the one that's running out of troops and material. Russia is taking damage and losing a lot too. That's true. But this is completely wrong. My God. This is insane. Absolutely fucking batshit insane. The murderous onslaught of the barbarians from Russia. Nazi rhetoric. This guy's literally named Coke. I sympathize with those who call Mr. Stevens a neocon. The epithet fits. But I've been skeptical of waging war since the 60s. The U.S. war machine has always been repugnant to me, and I have never before seen its use sufficiently justified. But now, for the first time, I wholeheartedly say Putin must be defeated in Ukraine. This is the first just war of my lifetime. Supply the weapons and ammunition the Ukraine needs, and plenty of them. Break the blockade. Man, isn't it odd that so many Nazis are on the side of the just? Isn't that odd, liberals? Don't think about it. I can say right now that I'm becoming a single issue voter on the Ukraine war. Anybody who supports continuing the Ukraine war should lose. It's insane. Biden tells oil companies in letter well above normal refinery profit margins are not acceptable. The national average for a gallon of gas crossed $5 over the weekend for the first time on record. Joe Biden's approval rating. Oh, man. Remember this? Remember this? Absolutely stupid. Anyone who believed this is a dumbass. Absolutely stupid. 71% of Americans supported a ban on Russian oil, even if it resulted in higher oil prices. Democrats were the most likely to back the ban. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Politicians are willing to pay the price of supporting Ukraine. Oh, yeah? How's that sound? Now they're saying we need to fight Russia directly. I would gladly pay 10 more cents per gallon. How about $4 more a gallon? 10 cents a gallon more. 51% of Americans would support sanctions against Russia, even if they resulted in higher energy prices. So when the invasion just happened, only 51, when the propaganda was maximum in the media, only 51% of America, I bet you it's now like 10% or 25%. I should say is probably the more realistic number. Absolute suicide. Suicide. For example, recent polling from the Washington Post, the Kaiser Family Foundation on increasing gas taxes to pay for the policies that would combat climate change finds that 64% would oppose a 10-cent increase per gallon on the gas tax, and 74% would oppose a 25 increase per gallon. So what do you think they think about a $3 increase? There is no fucking shot. They're going to blame Biden. And that's exactly what the Republicans are doing. Manufacturing consent angles, they won't even poll this question now. I wonder if there is a poll. Who do Americans blame for gas prices? I don't see anything. Oh, here it is. This is back in March. Americans blame Biden more than oil companies and Ukraine invasion for gas prices. This was only in March. It's worse. It's way worse now. That's what Ukraine was in every fucking... I'm glad Joe Biden's gonna lose for being a warmonger. I'm glad. Honestly, good. By the way, chat, here is interim President Juan Guaido tries to go out to a restaurant in Venezuela. How do average Venezuelans feel about America's puppet president? All right, chat. I forgot to charge my earbuds yesterday, so they died. They died. So we're gonna have to go for the full headphones. Whoops. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. We're going on to the headset. And so like, well, I mean, I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad the warmongers are going to lose the election. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's good. Some Biden officials privately express concern that rather than dissuade the Kremlin as intended, U.S. sanctions have instead exacerbated inflation, worsened food insecurity, and punished ordinary Russians more than Putin or his allies. Which everybody who studied sanctions, they don't work. They just cause the population to suffer. And paradoxically, make the government more popular against foreign threats. I was called a Putin apologist and a tanky for saying this when the war started. If only we could have seen this coming. Fucking idiots. And there's an easy solution to that. There's an easy solution. And that is tell Ukraine to negotiate, lift sanctions on Venezuela and Iran, and tell the oil companies and the fossil fuel industry that you're going to do whatever it takes to lower prices, and they don't give a shit what they say. That's what we should actually do. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.